Hello and welcome to the sixth episode of the Thinking Out Loud podcast. And we're still in lockdown. God knows when it's going to end, but
hopefully soon.
Needs must.
And we just had the most eventful 5 minutes.
I thought that was just brilliant. I thought that should have been the new intro, just us screwing around with the technology.
Zoom decided to take George on the digital equivalent of an acid trip.
It was almost like a Jimi Hendrix concert, almost just watching your screen for about 2 minutes.
It also made you disappear.
I started in San Francisco and ended up in a field.
Power all round.
and then went to space.
I mean, we'll release it as an outtake later on.
Still, that was just brilliant, I thought.
It was very funny.
It was rather bizarre. Anyway, what's on the topic for discussion?
Boris Johnson returning? Or is that too political?
Yeah. He's back. Bojo is back.
Yeah.
Deciding to compare the coronavirus to a mugger.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yes,
Well, that's what he did in his speech this morning.
I was just desperate for him to say, when he said that, it's from personal experience, it's like a mugger, and I just wanted him to say, and you know what we do with muggers? We beat them up. We beat them up and beat them to the ground.
proper beating style.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've missed Boris, though.
It's certainly very good to have him back, considering a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely.
For I would say about 2 days, it was very touch and go.
Yeah. I mean,
it was very worrying when he went into hospital, I must say, for those 2 days.
Well, the interesting thing is that he'd been due, because he went into St Thomas's Hospital on that Sunday.
5th of April.
But he'd been told to go the previous Thursday, but he didn't because he wanted to carry on, leading the response to the coronavirus. But obviously, if you have to go to hospital with it, I mean, you kind of have
to go to hospital. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was. I never thought he was going to die purely because of the fact that if he was going to die from it, he would have, without sounding harsh, he would have died soon.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what they say is that there's a period where if you get it and you get it quite badly, after I think it's about 10 days or so, if you're not feeling better or feeling rapidly better, then after that you can decline in your health very, very quickly, and I think that's what's clearly happened with Boris. And he obviously he ended up in ICU, which they don't put people in ICU just for the sake of it. Like, you have to have something seriously wrong with you.
Oh yeah.
Into an intensive care unit.
And he's not been at work for 3 weeks until yesterday, and you've got to recover when you've had an illness like that, for sure.
I mean, I watched his speech earlier, and he is still, you can tell he's still a little bit flushed and worn out.
He looks very pale.
He does look pale.
Not his usual self, so to speak.
And also, he spoke very well, but at the very end of his speech, he was clearly trying to catch his breath a bit. So they're just going to have to look after him, ease him in,
take
gently.
Baby steps until he's fully fit again, so to speak. I think that's the best way to do it. It's good to see him back, though, I must say. I think it was very worrying, as I say, when he had that illness. And I think what we need in times like this is leadership. And, if we have Boris as our leader, he's ill, then it's a bit worrying, but it's good to see him back.
It is good to see him back.
Leadership, which a certain Donald Trump doesn't seem to have.
Injecting disinfectant. Oh my word, it's just cringe.
That has got to be the gaffe of the century.
Yeah.
Thus far. We're 20 years into the 21st century. George Bush was president for 8 of those years, And okay, he made some gaffes, but not as big a gaffe as saying that you.
I think the funniest.
Donald Trump looks so stupid compared to George Bush.
With Dettol.
Yeah.
The funniest thing was looking at his scientific advisor's face when he said it.
Yeah. Then
she was just like.
They just think, oh damn, he screwed up.
Oh God! I mean,
George Bush makes Donald Trump look like the stupidest person on the planet, basically.
Yeah, I mean, George Bush Jr. looks statesman-like compared to Donald Trump.
You could disagree with George Bush, but you couldn't disagree with his competence like you could with Donald Trump.
No, you can't. Until Trump said that you should inject that. Well, just to defend him once, he didn't actually directly say you should inject yourself with disinfectant. But on the other hand, even to suggest that might be a cure, that just shows a sheer lack of common sense.
Yeah,
I suppose the thing is,
I don't think he knows what common sense is.
Until this point in time, the greatest gaffe in American politics was the former Vice President Dan Quayle correcting a school student who spelled potato correctly by putting an E on the end of it.
He was properly stupid, Dan Quayle.
The thing is, even though he didn't,
picking him as a VP was misguided.
Even though he didn't directly say, inject yourself with disinfectant. That's the sort of things Americans would do if they got told.
Yeah,
there's some people that literally will actually do it because he told them to. Yeah, that's what worries me as well. Some people will actually have probably done it.
That is the problem, and I don't think there's been any recorded cases of it happening yet. But
we'll see.
I know he did not directly say you should inject yourself with disinfectant, but the fact that he suggested it as an idea and he floated it as an idea, that's just mad. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
He also said about UV light.
Well, he'll know about that because he must go to the tanning booth every day.
No wonder he looks so orange.
but then he said it was sarcasm.
I know that.
Isn't that to deflect? Isn't that to deflect though, or something?
Yeah,
use sarcasm as an excuse.
Yeah, but you don't use sarcasm like that at a press briefing when you're trying to give information for how you're going to be dealing with a major pandemic.
Absolutely.
And then he cancelled his briefing on Saturday because he said it was a waste of time.
Yeah, I mean, to be in fairness, I kind of sympathise with him. But you still got to do it. Yeah. I know that the press. I mean, I don't really know much about what the American press has been like, but I certainly know in this country the British press has not done a very good job.
I wouldn't be surprised if the US press is any better, to be honest. Probably even worse, actually.
Of holding the government to account during this, as you can see by their polling numbers. But you've still got to do it. Questions have to be asked about this, even if those questions are at times rather stupid. I think one of the worst questions any media outlet has asked the government was a Channel 4 journalist. I think it's called Adam Thompson or Adrian Thompson, something like that, who basically tried to insinuate that the government's strategy was to kill off all the elderly to protect the young, which is a ridiculous question. That's ridiculous, that claim. I mean, it's got to the point now in our press briefings where the relevant minister, and specifically Matt Hancock, has decided to take away each journalist's follow-up question. Because they were just getting ridiculous. I mean, there is scrutinising the government and there is holding the government to account.
But then there's also asking silly questions as well.
Then there is also asking silly questions that we either know the answer to already.
Cheap, sleazy journalism.
Or it's gotcha journalism and they're just looking for an excuse to print a headline. It's cheap, sleazy journalism at its finest, I think, when journalists do that. Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, we've said it before, like Piers Morgan has been extremely guilty of this. And it's kind of backfiring in his face because the latest viewing figures for Good Morning Britain have come out and they've gone down by 42%.
That's going to be a big blow to his ego.
Well,
that's going to be a big blow.
That's nearly half.
It's not gone well for him.
Well, serves him right, I think. Serves him right.
I mean, it can go a bit too far.
Oh, I've always seen Piers Morgan as an arrogant, pompous bully who can give it but can't take it. I mean, if somebody goes back at him, he's just defensive and shouting.
I mean, the thing with Piers Morgan, until all this started, yes, I'm to be honest, until all this started, I never used to mind him that much because I do agree with him on quite a few things.
I mean, he usually talks quite a bit of sense, to be honest.
He usually does talk about a bit of
I guess he just
sense,
comes across as a bit of an asshole at times.
Yeah, but it's also getting to the point where, he's talking about criticism of the press and he just says, oh, but we're just trying to do a job and it's authoritarian for the government to be criticising the press. I'm sorry, but Piers, but you and other journalists were calling for an authoritarian lockdown from the word go.
Mm.
So, of course, you're going to get criticised for the way you're handling things at the moment because you're doing a shit job.
It's like the press expect other institutions to be questions, but they don't want the same questions being asked to them either. Well, it's hypocrisy at its finest.
Well, it's hypocrisy, but the thing is as well, we live in a free society with a free media, which is exactly what a good society should be like, where...
I think your connection's gone again. Hang on, I'm going to screenshot. Yeah, I've screenshotted it. This is brilliant. So this is quite unusual. What entertainment shall we do, George?
Well,
game?
We've
got Matt back on. That was brilliant, that face. I may have screenshotted it, sorry.
As I was saying, we live in a free society with freedom of the press and a free media, which is exactly how things should be. But that also means, and a lot of journalists have forgotten this, that also means if you live in a free society with a free press, the media can also come under scrutiny and criticism. And to be perfectly honest, 70% of the British public think they're doing a shit job at the minute.
Yeah.
So they're not doing something right.
Well, the media's, in the last 10 years, I'd say generally trust in the media is at its all-time low, I would say, personally.
At the moment it is, definitely.
I can't see this coronavirus helping at all.
The worst one is Channel 4.
I try and stay away from Channel 4 news if possible.
Yeah,
to be quite honest.
I await the day when we finally privatise it.
I mean, the worst thing about
Let's
Channel
do it
4,
now, then.
The worst thing about Channel 4 is that they seem to have a great ability to make one news story last for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could say the entire year.
Yeah. And it's like there was a hit piece yesterday on Saturday in The Guardian, where they were basically trying to say, oh, Dominic Cummings is a member of SAGE. He's influencing SAGE, which is a scientific advisory group that advises the government's scientific response to the pandemic.
Publish a lot of respected journals as well.
Yeah, and
SAGE, that is.
Yeah, and no, he's not a member of SAGE. He attended one meeting to get a clearer understanding of the science that's driving political decisions so that he was better informed as to what political decisions the government should take. Now, other prime ministerial advisors have attended SAGE meetings in the past. Nick Clegg's special advisor when he was deputy prime minister, attended a couple of SAGE meetings.
I can imagine that must have been quite interesting.
Yeah, in the past, but and Professor Neil Ferguson, who's basically one of the leading figures behind the science of the government strategy, he said, yeah, he was there. He asked a few questions. He had no influence, and that was it. And also, you're also not doing the scientists on SAGE a favour when you're basically trying to imply that they can't hold their own and that they can't shoot down any suggestions Dominic Cummings has that they don't particularly agree with. So I don't understand that either. But the media don't seem to think that these scientists were clearly very knowledgeable and very highly qualified for their jobs. But the media seems to suggest that they can't handle a guy who doesn't have a very good dress sense. It has to be said.
Again, that's just cheap and sleazy journalism for you. And Channel 4 will make any headline up just to keep the viewers entertained.
Yeah, that's not just Channel 4. I mean, this appeared in The Guardian, which is we've known is shite.
The Guardian's terrible as well. There's a
brilliant Facebook page called Peak Guardian.
Is that on Facebook or something?
Yeah, it's on Facebook.
Oh, I think I might follow that, actually.
It basically just publishes some of the most out there Guardian opinion pieces.
Especially if it's Owen Jones.
Like it publishes stuff like my little boy claims that he's a baby zebra, and I'm proud of him for admitting it. Stuff like that.
That's such an Alice in Wonderland story.
Yeah, and I'm ashamed of being middle class because I have a cleaner.
Really?
Yeah. It's just like. I mean, it
sounds like some people at university.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, the two groups of people that are annoying me are journalists and students. I know I am a student, but
hypocrite.
I'm talking about mainly lefty leaning students that are usually on the SU.
Yeah,
tend to come from middle class backgrounds.
Well, they just complain about everything.
I mean,
they will always complain about everything, as you say.
As some people I know are doing.
Wow. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, there's been a couple of incidents where one particular incident where I found this thing on Twitter, which had been put up there by Tim Montgomery, who's one of the leading editors at the Times, and it was just a thing like a list of what newspaper headlines might be like for certain papers or TV news stations if a vaccine is developed. So it would be like, the BBC would say, well, you told us it was going to be developed whenever it was, so you're going to apologise for lying and stuff like that. And Channel 4 and Sky News would be, do you think we'd have developed it quicker if we were part of the EU vaccination program?
Jesus.
So then
Give us a break, Sky News.
So the Guardian one was just like basically saying the government's coronavirus vaccine proves that vaccines are racist. That's just the kind of headline that the Guardian would probably have. And I put it on Facebook, and then within about half an hour,
this never ends well.
One of my friends from university responded to it and basically accused me of being a racist because she said I was joking about ethnic minorities. It's like, no, it's a joke about journalists. What are you talking about?
I can't believe the Guardian wrote something like that. It's just
the
preposterous.
the Guardian didn't write it. It's just what their headline might be like.
Oh, right. Oh, sorry.
No, their headline. No, they didn't. The Guardian didn't write that headline. It was a list of what headlines might be if a vaccine is developed.
My bad.
That's
just ridiculous.
Most people that I know are complaining about tuition fees, which is dumb because let's be honest, they're probably never going to.
It's like a graduate tax. You never pay the full. You never pay the entire lot back.
Especially
as it gets written off after 30 years.
Even if you do, you're probably doing okay for yourself. And you only pay about £10 a week or something.
Yeah.
And you don't start paying it back until it's 25 grand, which most people on their first job out of university, they're not earning 25 grand. It's normally
they're not
19, 20k.
And but the thing is as well is that they've had a sizable amount of their education this year, more than half. Some universities, including my old alma mater, which is Sheffield, are still running courses through virtual lectures and seminars. So they're technically still doing their course.
Well, the point I made was that we've, most places have missed about 2 weeks before the Easter holidays, and maybe one or 2 weeks afterwards before assessments start. So all they've missed is about 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not that much in the grand scheme of things, and you can do things online anyway. Exactly. It's not like the 1970s where you had to turn up to a lecture to actually get the material.
What was that like, Matt?
Oh, shut up.
Maybe I should have said the 1870s.
Bear in mind, I only ever missed 2 lectures.
You missed a lecture?
I missed 2. One of them, in fairness, one of them was utterly pointless. It was a conclusion lecture, which I didn't have to really go to anyway. And I missed them both. Well, one of them I missed because I was extremely hungover. And I'd been at the MPS ball the night before. And party. In fairness, I got through a 4-hour seminar from 9 o'clock until 1. I got through that, and then I remembered I had this conclusion lecture at 2 o'clock for this other module I was doing, and it wasn't even a module that I was being examined on. I'd done the coursework for it, and that was all done. So I thought there's no.
We might as well not turn up then. In that case.
So I sacked it off and went to bed.
Yeah. To be honest, I think having 4-hour seminars and stuff is pointless because
it was a one-off.
Nobody can concentrate for that long.
Yeah, and there's usually 1 or 2 people that really contribute, while most people are just sat there in silence.
Yeah.
I think it's a learning style that benefits very few. Although I found them interesting.
Yeah, in fairness, on this particular occasion, it was a one-off. That is the only time I've had a 4-hour.
You didn't make a habit of it.
No, we had half an hour break in between, so it was more like 3 hours, something like that.
That is his excuse.
But no, the reason why, and it was on a Tuesday, and normally when I was in uni at this time, it's her second semester of 3rd year, I didn't normally have anything on a Tuesday, but our tutor, he was Irish, and he was also a lecturer in Irish history.
To be sure.
He had to go to Dublin.
That was brilliant, George.
He had to go to Dublin later on in the week.
Potatoes.
When we normally have our seminar.
Enough for casual racism, George.
So, unfortunately, we had to shift the seminar to the Tuesday. Both those seminars to the Tuesday, which was the day after the MPS ball. The other time, I just went on a night out and I got back in extremely late, and it was 9 a.m. and I thought,
you must have been pissed as a fart.
No, I wasn't that drunk. I just got in very, very late, and I was just very tired on that particular occasion.
To be honest, I think if you know you can do the work, it's
absolutely.
It's like when we were in high school. I never used to do the homeworks that I thought were pointless because what's the point?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're just getting a grade, and as long as your grades are good, I don't see what the problem is.
Even GCSE, in A-levels, I never did any work until about 2 months before, because what's the point?
That's true,
and look at you now. You had to prioritise it well.
What's the point? Because, I mean...
Yeah. I always have a... Sorry, George, carry on.
Clogging up your brain for unnecessary reasons.
Work smarter, not harder, in my opinion.
But surely if you're doing if you're only starting to do the work 2 months before, surely you're cramming everything in then.
Not necessarily.
Let's just remind each other.
You can't burn out early in the year, to be honest. Because I know some people that were working really hard in September, by February, March, they were absolutely burnt out. You've got to conserve your energy all year. Let it be all intensive.
I did get an A in 2 Bs, so it did work.
Yeah, all right, okay.
One size does not fit all. One size does not fit all, so to speak.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Have you heard the news about Kim Jong-un?
Yeah.
Perhaps eating too much cheese.
Oh God.
Basically, nobody knows where he is.
I've seen some very, very good memes about this.
I saw a Monty Python one of his doctors saying how big his stomach is, and it was like, "Run away!"
Run away! Get away!
What's actually happened, though? I only caught a bit of it.
Well, we don't know.
He's having health problems with his heart, isn't he? Or something like that.
That's what people are alleging. We don't have any confirmed reports yet.
Yeah. Because of North Korean state media, they never announce anything until 2-3 weeks later. I think it took them a few days to confirm that Kim Jong-il had died back in 2011. So, they're normally very secretive with that kind of thing.
Although you don't know, he might have sneaked off somewhere and died suddenly of a heart attack.
If he dies, his career is over.
Oh, God.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, well, basically what's happened is we've got to take all this with a pinch of salt because... stop it. Because
kimchi.
Well, the thing is that the South Koreans, who are normally the best when it comes to anything that's going on in North Korea, the South Korean government has said that nothing is wrong with it. And the US intelligence seems to corroborate this. But what the rumours are all about is that Kim Jong-un, because he hasn't been seen in public for quite a long time now and has missed some big celebrations.
He missed April the 15th, which is a big celebration in North Korea of Kim Il-sung's birthday. He missed that, and that's a big deal.
He missed Kim Il-sung, who was the founder of North Korea and Kim Jong-un's grandfather.
The eternal present, even though he's a corpse.
Yeah, even that he missed his
literally
birthday. And he also missed the anniversary celebrating the foundation of the North Korean army, basically. So a lot of people are suggesting, this must mean he's either dead or he's seriously ill. And the rumour is that basically, I shouldn't laugh, but it is
we can
just do it.
But the rumour is that he's had some sort of heart operation, which when you look at him, he fucking needed it if he's had one.
The funniest thing.
He's had one since he became the leader in 2011.
Apparently, it was meant to be a routine operation, but according to some of the reports, it's gone badly wrong.
Something wrong.
And he's
something wrong. The funniest thing that happened to him was when he broke his ankles because he couldn't keep his own weight.
Yeah, that is true.
Wasn't that after he ate too much cheese or something?
Yeah, I mean...
Or maybe after drinking too many cognacs.
I mean, that's the thing. He is very much... And he's a brutal mass murderer and tyrant. But he's so preposterous that he's just a complete comedy figure.
And he looks like a baby.
Yeah, and he looks... And also...
Along with Trump, he has one of the worst haircuts as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
And me.
And the thing is, with his haircuts, he apparently, according to state media, he cuts it himself.
Oh, God.
No.
With a fucking rock.
But then again, you've got to take the North Korean state media with a pinch of salt. They said Kim Jong-il did
a massive vat of the stuff.
No. I mean, but you got to take it with a pinch of salt. They said Kim Jong-il did a perfect 18 on his first game of golf ever.
Yeah, they did.
Nobody could do that on their first game of golf.
I know from first-hand experience that is not possible.
And according to North Korea, haven't they?
Like a god. Literally, that's what they do.
According to North Korean leaders. Media, haven't North Korea won every single World Cup?
Yeah.
There was a moment. Well, they haven't won every single World Cup, according to North.
Or do you mean Kim Jong-il won every single World Cup?
But there was,
the great leader did an excellent display against Brazil.
There was a great. Well, the last World Cup they qualified for was 2010. And they basically the North Korean media. It was rather embarrassing. Because they played Portugal and they only lost. They only lost 2-1 against Brazil. Against Brazil.
I remember that because I remember North Korea scored, but they lost 7-0 to Portugal, and it was live on television.
I was just about to say all that.
Sorry, it came back to me in the memory, Matt. Sorry, carry on though.
Yeah,
carry on the story that we've just heard.
They only lost 2-1 to Brazil, who were meant to be the titans of world football at that time. And they were up against Portugal, who aren't as good. as Brazil. So
if you take out Cristiano Ronaldo.
So the North Korean state media decided for the first time ever to broadcast the North Korea-Portugal match on North Korean television. And they lost
7-0. And wasn't it? And didn't I think the manager got fired for that after the tournament, and he got a massive dressing down in front of Kim Jong-il. Not a literal dressing down, but literally. They do these kind of shaming sessions where they shame everybody in front of a massive group of people.
In the North Korean context, when you say firing, that could go one or two ways.
Yeah.
Off the gulag.
Either you're sacked from your job, or you're in front of the firing squad.
I think he lost his job and probably went to a labour camp.
Probably got murdered.
I'm not sure about the fate of the North Korean football team from that World Cup.
One of them played for an overseas team, so he escaped. It was John Tacy. He was the one that cried during the anthems for the Brazil-North Korea anthem. But he played for a Japanese club, so he didn't have to go back to North Korea once the tournament finished.
No. I mean, he must... It must be odd when you're in that position in North Korea, because there can't be many.
Yeah.
Because most North Korean footballers don't play abroad; they just play for North Korean teams. It's only like less than 10, I think. Certainly at that time.
And that's only a fair of a citizenship, I believe.
Yeah, so
I might have got that wrong or something, but that's.
So what must they? Are they like constantly under surveillance when they're playing for?
I think they are. I was reading about some North Korean athletes, how they cope when they're at the Olympics, and apparently they have a minder with them 24/7. Yeah, they're not allowed any. Yeah,
when you say minder, do you mean somebody with a gun?
I wouldn't say literally with a gun, but
no.
I think it's to stop them defecting, because apparently some Eastern European athletes, when they went to a Western country before the Iron Curtain fell, they used to go to the American or nearest capitalist embassy, and they used to say, "I want to go to this country, live in this country."
I think Martina Navratilova, the tennis player, she did it. I think.
Which one was that? Was it Los Angeles?
Martina Navratilova. She was a Czech tennis player, and she defected to America.
Ah.
Which was quite interesting.
Yeah, it was quite common back then, and it still is now with North Korea to have a minder with them to make sure they don't defect.
But it's like with Cubans as well. A lot of Cuban athletes have defected.
All this talk of Korea is reminding me of the Little Britain character Ting Tong.
Ting Tong.
No. Let's not go into that.
I think especially after last week, we should delve away from that.
Well, Ting Tong, who is basically
Ting Tong.
Basically Matt.
That would not fly on television now.
Is basically Matt Lucas dressed up as a Korean woman. Although you say that, Little Britain has just been put onto BBC iPlayer.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the BBC must.
And on the big night in, didn't they do it on the big night in as well?
Yeah, the big night in they did it. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I just saw the Little Britain sketch.
Yeah, I didn't watch it at all.
It was terrible. I got through an hour of it, and then thankfully Great British Menu was on, so I watched that.
Oh, you watched Great British Menu? That's probably the most interesting television.
You really are an old man if you watch that and find it interesting.
To be fair, I quite like cooking programs are quite good. I quite
They're
like
really
Chef's
not.
Chef's Table on Netflix.
They're utterly pointless because nobody ever actually cooks what people show them.
But it's nice and relaxing. It's like wildlife programs.
They're even worse.
I'm losing the patience.
I mean, I don't want to see badgers and lions mating.
Well, it makes some good.
It
makes a good home video at least.
Whilst David Attenborough talks over it.
Well,
pretty good home video, though, I'd say.
Oh God, Bill Oddie.
Are you going to do your game, George, or something?
I cannot stand Bill Oddie.
He was in a very good show in the 70s called The Goodies, which was a comedy series.
The thing I really hated.
Was that on the BBC, Matt?
All but one of its series was. Yeah, they did one series with ITV in the early 80s, which wasn't as good.
The thing I hate
give it a check out after this is finished.
I hate about Bill Oddie is the fact that whenever he used to do, is it Spring Watch he did?
Spring Watch, Autumn Watch, he did a bit.
Yeah,
of both.
he just used to constantly talk and never let the other presenter come in. And then they got that guy that can't speak properly. Chris Packham, who has an awful list.
Quiz.
Yeah, and he's now become a vegan.
Oh Lord. Let's not go on about vegans. I think that could get a bit messy.
Yeah, that could get controversial.
Are you doing your game at all this week, George?
I don't have anything prepared.
You say it like such an innocent child, Harry.
Maybe.
Oh, I feel like such an innocent child asking that right now. Actually,
maybe one of you two could suggest the.
Can we just throw Matt into the bear pit for this week?
I'll do it. I don't mind.
Excellent.
I don't mind. Okay, let's get the ball rolling with vegans. We might as well.
Okay.
George, you can go first.
Well, I have first-hand experience of vegans because I know a couple of them.
Here we go.
My dad decided to become a vegan for 6 months.
What?
Which,
was this recently? No, I had no idea.
Yeah, last year. I mean, the thing about vegans is they're extremely well. One friend I have called Sam was a vegan. He still is actually. And my problem with him was that he went on about how it was good for the environment and fair trade and all that crap. Yet he was a serial drug taker.
Stick that up your pipe and smoke it.
So he was contributing to human. Yeah, and it really annoys me when you see you're just walking through town and they have those stupid things in the street where they all stand with masks on, showing pictures of pigs being slaughtered. I'm sorry, but
those tactics don't work if you want somebody to convert to vegan. I mean, some people. I mean, it's just too much shock when they show slaughterhouse videos, and it's quite distressing.
Exactly, and the other thing is pigs taste nice, so.
Oh, they do. I mean, I agree with them. They should treat pigs well before they slaughter them, but yeah, no, that's what. It can't be a good bit of bacon.
That's a massive
family then.
Okay, I might be telling a little porky there.
Oh. But yeah, I don't have the time of day for vegans purely because they just rant on about it, and
I think that's the problem about veganism.
They're too
you only
militant
hear about the extreme. There's no middle ground with them. You're either with them or against them. It's just like if you don't agree with them, you're basically the enemy, so to speak. And that's why I don't agree with them.
I don't agree with veganism as an idea.
They're a bit like.
I respect their opinions, though.
They're a bit like the Nazis of the food world.
Oh God.
That might be a bit of a. No. I'm not even going to go there. But I'd probably tread lightly with that comment, Mr. Farrar.
There was an incident I read about one particular guy. He lives in Kent somewhere. He's very kind of militant environmentalist and militant vegan.
I thought it was just old people that lived in Kent.
And he basically he raided a farm. It was a poultry farm, and he set free all these like chicken chicks.
Poultry in motion.
And just sent them out into the wild. But
then they got eaten by foxes.
Well, no, they didn't even make it
that
far.
Foxes, that's even better.
They get run over.
No, they didn't even make it that far. They literally, he'd set them free in the back garden where they were, and they didn't know where to go. They got completely disorientated, and they basically got very, very cold and all died in the night.
Sounds like they all chickened out.
Because they were. Oh, for God's sake!
Full of them today, I must admit.
So it was completely pointless what he did. So those chicks didn't have a good life. They died afraid, frightened, and bloody freezing.
It was a well-intended idea, but completely, didn't work out for the chicks in the end.
No, I mean, they didn't even get as far as the fox pen. Speaking of foxes, have I told you about a chap called George Morgan?
Is he a member of Parliament or a barrister? I think I've heard the name. Oh, he's a barrister.
He's a barrister.
I've heard about him.
He was he's still a barrister. God knows if he's going to be a barrister for much longer. Basically, big Remainer lawyer type during the entire Brexit debate. Oh, and he lodged God knows how many cases with the Supreme Court trying to get Brexit cancelled, none of which ever worked.
Good.
So it seemed like he was going to vanish into political obscurity until Boxing Day last year.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
When he decided, he lives on in a posh farm somewhere in the countryside.
Of course he would.
And he has a chicken coop on his land. And he decided, basically, a fox had got into his chicken coop, and he decided to beat it to death on Boxing Day of last year with a baseball bat, whilst dressed in his wife's kimono.
He could have just said, "Release the hounds!"
Right, he was dressed in his wife's... He was dressed in his wife's clothes.
His wife's kimono.
So I guess you could say he was a lady.
Yeah.
I just like cross-dressing, kids.
No, but kimonos are those Japanese clothes.
Oh, yes.
The long overalls. And it was his wife, and they're generally worn by women. And it was his wife's kimono that he was dressed in, and he was beating the shit out of a fox with a baseball bat. And the greatest irony is he's opposed to fox hunting.
Oh,
was Brian May there?
I thought he was a fox hunter, but clearly not.
Then he went on Twitter to brag about it, that he killed a fox.
Oh, an absolute pillar.
So obviously someone rang up the RSPCA.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, God.
I guess he got outfoxed there.
Well, they actually found him not. They actually said he hadn't committed a crime because the fox was in his chicken coop.
Oh, dear.
But he still killed a bloody fox. I mean, in cold blood.
Wow.
I mean,
anyway, God. Next topic.
That got out of hand quite quickly. That one.
The vegan one went a bit.
The vegan one went quite far.
Yeah, let's just move on.
Actually, okay.
Cheese?
Manchester.
Oh, Manchester.
You can go first, Harry.
I think it's a great city, Manchester. It's fabulous, to say the least. I don't know why my microphone keeps moving, but yes.
You
may as well know. Do you want to do it for me, Matt? Is that what you're offering?
No.
I'll do it once it's over. Anyway, I'll explain. I think Manchester's a great city, fabulous music, fabulous everything, and yeah, just the accent's a bit
fabulous
terrible.
Hobos. Fabulous drugs.
That laugh sounded disturbing. Well, I can't complain.
To be fair, I used to think. Well, I still do think Manchester's a bit of a dive, but see, after not being there for some time, I must admit I do actually miss it a lot. For all its fault, it does have a very unique personality.
Yeah, I think that's what I like about Manchester as well. It's very unique, you know.
And the music
Liverpool's
is
a bit
great.
more European, I would say, in kinds of feel. But I think Manchester's that kind of cool northern city that kind of everybody can agree on
and the music's great.
Yeah, and the music. Oasis, maybe the Smiths.
Stone Roses.
Yeah, Stone Roses. Stone Roses' debut album is absolutely brilliant, I would say, as well.
Yeah, well, they did 2 albums.
And the second one was terrible, but the first one...
I quite like the second one.
Oh, that's quite a controversial opinion. Most people I know that like Stone Roses don't like Second Coming, which is the second album that they did.
Also, quite an unfortunate name.
Yeah.
It's more unfortunate that it's a better name for a second album than what the Specials did, because the Specials only did 2 albums.
Thank
God. Oh, shut up. Their first album was called The Specials, and then their second album was called More Specials.
What?
I mean,
how inventive is that? I like to call myself a new album name. More Specials.
I mean, that
Specials Delight or something.
That could also be taken quite the wrong way.
A bit the wrong gauges.
No.
Yeah.
But anyway,
exactly. I do like Liverpool as well.
Yeah, Liverpool's fantastic.
I'd rather have a day out in Liverpool, but I'd rather live in Manchester.
Yeah. Liverpool's a good day for a day out, I must say. As I said, it has that very European feel, and it just feels friendly. The only thing that I have against it is the accent.
Yeah, it's quite authentic because it is like going abroad because you can't understand anybody.
Well, the thing with Liverpool is that about 3/4 of the people there are technically Irish, so we might as well give it to the Republic as compensation for the North.
There you go. Let's have Liverpool. No, I like Liverpool. It's fabulous.
No, I quite like Liverpool. It's
in fact, we should go again once the lockdown is lifted.
Yeah,
kind of like an annual pilgrimage.
Once the lockdown's lifted, I think would be a good idea. Which I do think they're going to lift some restrictions in. Yeah. Is it 2 weeks now?
2 weeks.
Next week is the next.
Oh, it's next week.
It's the next one. It's
the next, grief! Yeah, time has flown by, indeed.
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah. I'd be very surprised if we have the current restrictions longer than next week. To be quite honest,
I think VE Day is the day when they make the formal decision as to what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I do think some restrictions will be lifted.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's like in supermarkets, for example.
Well, I don't know if you've seen that a lot of like motor car usage, for example, started to go up. I think people are starting to.
Yeah.
If they don't change something, people are just going to start.
You can now drive. You can now drive somewhere to go for a walk. I believe. Is that? I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't think so. I just think a lot of people are doing that now.
I thought that.
But it's like some construction sites are starting up again, like the one right behind my house.
Bit too much noise in the early morning, then.
Some businesses are starting up again in the coming weeks. I think they can do, like with garden centres, for example, I don't see why garden centres need to be shut for much longer, because the problem is that the supermarkets are now profiting off garden products that you'd normally buy from a garden centre. So
I've never been to a garden centre.
Well,
you're not missing out, George. You're not.
The only people that go there are old people.
I only go under suffering. So I don't particularly want to go to garden centres.
You go because you're dragged there by your mum and dad.
Well,
go on, man. Go to the garden centre. No.
My mum and grandma more than anything.
Oh, I see.
The thing I hate about them is that people just dozy around in them. I mean, how long does it take to pick a flower?
It's like a living graveyard in garden centres, I think, anyway.
A tree or whatever people buy in them.
Yeah.
But I've asked these questions many times before, but there's a whole science to understanding exactly how people buy products at garden centres. I've witnessed it.
In my opinion,
it drives me mad.
Who made that? Was it a boomer?
In my opinion, just buy fake and then you never have to replace it. And it never dies.
Well, that might be a bit of advice, anyway.
Anyway, so
next topic.
The good news is that this time I've been painting the outside of my house. And
is that why you've been posting on Instagram recently?
Bits of it, yeah.
Oh, I must say it's good.
Why are you painting the outside of your house?
Because it looks terrible and it's been needed, and because it looks terrible, we've got nothing else to do, and it's needed doing for years.
And are you doing it for free? Is that why your mum and dad are making you do it?
Well, we're all doing it.
Oh, I see. Right.
We're all doing it. It's just better. It's much cheaper to do it ourselves.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Get a painter and decorator in, which we can't do anyway.
Like Harry did.
Wow. What can I say? It was good while it lasted.
What can I do for another topic? Oh God.
Anything food related? I know it sounds a bit boring, but
you just want cheese to come up, don't you? You just want cheese to come up. Go on.
What? Because we're
cheese.
Yes. I love Stilton cheese quite a lot. It's fabulous. I know it's cheesy, but whenever I hear a Stilton cheese, I always feel great.
Oh, for God's sake.
Well,
Harry, these jokes,
cheese and a bit more pies.
Harry, these jokes are starting to grate on me a little.
Oh.
Matt didn't get that one.
No, I got that. I'm losing the will to bloody live here.
I don't think he gave an Edam about it.
Oh, for crying.
But don't worry though, it can only get fatter.
Speaking of food, did anybody watch Gino and Fred's and Gordon's last thing in Texas?
Yeah.
Is that the only cookery program you'll watch, George? Gino and Gordon?
Because it's actually interesting.
How they didn't get arrested. How Gino D'Acampo didn't get arrested down that street in Austin
with his arse hanging out
with bare buttocks. For fuck's sake! I mean, oh God.
Boy, this escalated quickly.
What I want to know is the thing about bananas on boats actually a genuine thing?
Bananas on boats?
What do you mean about bananas on boats?
Well, Gino ate a banana whilst they were fishing, and apparently they said that it's bad luck to eat a banana whilst you're fishing.
Well, I don't know. I never heard about that.
And the guy from Texas got quite angry with it.
Why would you eat a banana while you're fishing?
Well, because it takes about 5 hours for anything to happen.
You
could just get a pork pie or something instead.
Fishing along with snooker and pool professional snooker and fishing are the two most boring things in the entire world.
I don't mind a bit of fishing now and then, to say the least.
I don't mind a bit of professional snooker, but I can't stand fishing.
Of course, you like golf.
You wouldn't...
Oh,
yeah.
Shut
to be fair, golf is a bit dull.
No, it's not.
It is, Matt. It is.
Golf, cricket, and snooker are the dullest sports you can.
I'll disagree with you on cricket, George. A good one-day international is brilliant.
How can you claim that the Cricket World Cup final last year was boring?
That's one of the greatest cricket games of all time. That was Cricket World Cup final.
Most stressful.
Just because something is the greatest of all time doesn't mean it's great. I mean, I'm sure there is a greatest.
By cricket standards, it's great.
I'm sure there's a greatest chess match of all time. It doesn't make it interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, if you follow chess or something like that, it will be the greatest chess match of all time. Again, sport is subjective, in my opinion.
Well, I hate sport, as was evident in PE lessons.
Yeah,
and the World Cup.
You just hate any sport.
I remember you in PE lessons trying to get out of it all.
Well, the last couple of PE lessons didn't even show up.
No,
Did you just say, "I've not got my PE kit, give me an eggie"?
Well, I thought, what's the point?
Yeah. Oh, 6 years tomorrow is my last ever PE lesson. Weird nostalgia that I just remembered just now.
Yeah,
Did you remember that?
Don't get me
Seriously?
started on what happened to me in my last ever PE lesson.
No. Why?
I nearly
You went in a
my
wheelchair,
ankle.
didn't you?
Yeah, I
did you?
broke my
Yeah,
ankle.
I remember seeing Matt being wheelchaired across
I
don't remember that at all.
It was quite amusing.
It was very embarrassing. Basically, it was the last ever PE lesson. We were playing softball, and I was going for a home run, and it had been raining.
Home run!
And I slipped and went over on my ankle very, very
And he's
badly.
been bowled out.
And then you buggered your leg at the prom.
Oh,
no, that was 2 years later. That was.
We're on about last PE lessons here, George.
But I then had to be taken off in a wheelchair at the exact same moment that everyone came out of the changing rooms when the bell went, and they all saw me, and it was very embarrassing.
That must have been really bad.
It was very, very embarrassing.
Really
I probably
bad.
shouldn't have said that.
and I had a very bad limp for about 4 weeks after that.
Ah. I still have Mr. Mackay's rugby boots.
Why? Did you nick them personally? Did he make you keep them or something?
No, I refuse. I'm surprised he's not. Well, I'm not going to say the word. But we
asking for them back.
I'm surprised he's not on the other side. Let's put it that way.
That sounds a bit grim, I must say.
But I mean, yeah, I refused to buy rugby boots, so he gave me his, and I never gave them back.
That could be an interesting artifact. I have rugby boots.
That was the worst Scottish accent in human history.
I wasn't even trying to do a Scottish accent there.
I thought you were doing an imitation of Mr. Mackay.
Oh, no. The only Scottish imitation I can do is of the character Begbie from the movie Trainspotting. Have you ever seen Trainspotting?
Go on then.
That wee lassie got plastered. We won't leave until we find out what. Sorry for the language.
Oh,
Harry.
I failed, didn't I?
Doing it if the quote was going to be like that. Oh God.
Well, that's how I remember it. It's been a while since I've seen Trainspotting.
Yeah. I am very used to that word after watching Noel Gallagher interviews.
Yeah.
What the word?
Anyway. Oh.
Sorry.
And that wraps everything up for today.
Harry, I thought it was brilliant. That was
Harry, you can do this.
Can I do it in my Scottish accent?
Just do the sign off.
This does sum up our personalities. How offended Matt gets.
Oh, that is true. That is absolutely true. Oh yeah, Harry, fine. I will do it
in the Scottish accent.
Yeah, I'm just going to do it in my normal voice. Thank you very much for watching that, guys. Give us a like on Facebook and a subscribe on YouTube. Thank you very much and have an epic day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.